Hello and welcome to Sideways. Usually, before I record this introduction, I've edited the episode, which is why I can remember what we spoke about. But this week, I haven't done it yet, so I've got absolutely no recollection. The only thing I do remember is that I just opened a new box of pencils, if that's any good to you. Anyway, this week, we're talking about the difference between having a growth mindset and having a fixed mindset, and what difference it makes to overcoming addiction and other mental health issues. I told Martin that I wanted to do an episode on the difference between a positive and negative mindset, so he prepared notes for that. So all in all, it's a bit of a shambles, but I think it came out all right in the end. You be the judge. Growth mindset versus fixed mindset.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. You've got lots of sun rays shining on you, looking as if some sort of divine intervention. You can't interrupt me when I'm talking. It's not very good for the edit.
Okay, how's that? Was that a long enough gap? How long shall I leave? A couple of minutes with your clumsy fingers on the editing buttons. Yeah, how are you? Anyway, I'm good. I'm all right. I'm in good spirits.
Yeah, I'm good. I've just done something today which is always a source of joy for me.
And what's that?
Open a new box of pencils.
Okay.
Can you understand how that would be a moment of great celebration?
Yeah, I can really. Are they just normal HBs or are they coloured pencils?
Well, they're HBs, but I wouldn't call them normal. It's a lovely pencil.
Oh right, okay, yeah. When you say you open them, what are they in? A box or a
box? Yeah, obviously a box.
Okay, excellent work. Yeah, is it a tin box?
No, it's not.
The best ones.
It's a cardboard box, but
all right, good enough though.
Beggars can't be choosers.
They can't. You a beggar?
No, I couldn't really describe myself as a beggar. I think that would be a bit disingenuous
to those that people are actually in that state. Yeah.
Some people have called me a bugger in the past. Probably you on numerous occasions, I would think.
Undoubtedly, yeah. If the cap fits, pal, you know. Anyway, for all this nonsense,
yeah.
What are we going to talk about then?
I don't know.
I wanted to talk about. I think I might have given you a small indication.
I think you sent me a message.
Yeah, just regarding positive versus negative mindset. That's what my notes have headed up. So,
yeah,
if we can crack on down that line, it'd be good because that's all I've got notes on, and they're pretty scant notes, really. So it is your idea.
Well, in a way, it's probably good that your notes are scant because I gave you a bit of a bum steer. Because when I said positive versus negative mindset, actually what I meant was growth versus fixed mindset. That's
completely thrown me then. In that case, I've got nothing to talk about.
Well, not really, because I think broadly we're directionally talking about the same sort of thing. But I am prepared to do more of the heavy lifting on this episode than the normal. Which
okay, well, to try and get yourself out of a sticky situation, then after giving me the wrong information. Now I'm feeling pretty negative about this now.
Have you got? Would you say at this point you've got a fixed or a growth mindset about this particular episode?
It's not growth.
So it's fixed, isn't it? You've got a pretty fixed idea about how things are going to go.
Well, I suppose so, but it is drifting towards negativity. If that's minus or if that's fixed, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how you interpret it.
Well, would you like me to sort of explain where this idea came from? Would that be useful?
You can do, but before we start,
go on.
There was a couple of stories that were on Sky Sport, not Sky Sports News, Sky News, that made me laugh with the phraseology used. The first story was about a woman who found a snake under her bed. This is in the USA, and it was giving birth to 17 babies. Okay, now I can't imagine the horror that must have left the lady with at that point. I mean, these were harmless. It was a harmless brown snake, but I'm quite a snake fan. As you know, I've had a pet snake in the past, and I quite like them. But I think this lady was quite shocked by this find. But they on Sky News they said that the encounter left her scared shirtless, which I thought was... which they're either just avoiding using the phrase scared shitless, or that's an actual phrase. Can you imagine getting, that scared your shirt fell off? It doesn't really
exactly. I don't think that's a phrase, is it? I don't think you can be scared shirtless.
I think you're just playing with words, aren't you? But anyway, the second one was there was a bit of CCTV footage showing a burglar getting knocked over by a heavy television that had fallen off the wall during a break-in. And then when they reported it, they said the burglar was left with nothing but a headache after a large screen crashed down from the wall, sending the miscreant's legs into the air, which are rather I mean, calling a burglar a miscreant is softening it somewhat. They're horrible saps, aren't they, people that burgle?
Yeah, it was like that. I was reminded of it last week because I don't know if you saw it, but I was watching the two documentaries that were on about 9/11.
I did watch that on BBC One.
Yeah, that's right. And I can remember there being a furore at the time over Bush describing the terrorists as we've got to find these folks who did it. I can remember that. That seemed like a very inappropriate way of describing them. And in fact, that television falling on someone's head reminded me of and I can never remember whether this was a real headline or whether you just made it up. But was there really a headline in the KM in the 1980s that read "Pensioner felled by keep left bollard"?
No, it was. I think there was something about someone falling over one, but I think my brother and I decided to embellish that somewhat and then spread that around, and everyone was saying that it was a great headline.
So spreading misinformation, you were kind of early version of Twitter, weren't you?
Yeah, we were really in many ways, yeah.
Just a couple of twits.
It made us laugh, and that was all that really mattered.
Yeah, very good.
Anyway, so I'm still looking at the positive and negative mindsets, but we're now calling it fixed and growth, aren't we?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you. Let me tell you how it came about. Firstly, I completely acknowledge my mistake by telling you it was positive versus negative, which it isn't really. But as I say, it's within the same kind of ballpark, so I don't think it really matters.
Cool.
Where it came about was I read an article about fixed versus growth mindset in terms of treating, in this case, it was anxiety.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how much you know about this or how much anybody else listening knows about this, but it's been kind of well known through research for years that beliefs that we hold about the malleability of our personalities and our IQ are good predictors of emotional resilience. So, for instance, if you believe your personality is a fixed thing and it's, you were born like that, it's always going to be that way, then your ability to be emotionally resilient tends to be compromised by that. If you believe that you'll only ever be as intelligent as you are and you can't really build on that intelligence, then that tends to predict you doing poorly academically, because you've already decided in your own mind that you're not going to be able to move the needle on aspects of your own personality or your academic ability. So this particular research that I was reading was designed to test out whether the same sort of things tended to be true in people who are suffering from anxiety.
Okay.
And indeed, it showed that anxiety does respond in similar ways. So when we feel anxious or when we're suffering from anxiety, if we believe that it is a short-term thing and that we can learn to overcome our anxiety or to manage it better, or that it's something that we can move past, they found in their research that incidences of long-term depression, of substance use, which is what I thought was worth us talking about.
Yeah.
And a motivation for kind of self-protection, i.e. avoiding suicidal ideation, so depression was, the incidence of depression was decreased, the incidence of substance use was decreased, and the occasions on which we would think about harming ourselves were also decreased. So it felt as if there was something kind of important there about how when people get into recovery, if you believe that you are going to be able to move past the stage where you're constantly fixated on drink and drugs, the likelihood is that you will. It will improve your chances of doing so just by thinking that you can.
So would you say that it's almost, it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy? We're a product. There's a little quote I remember. I haven't written it down, so I hope I get it right here, because I'm flying by the seat of my pants here since you shifted the goalpost mercilessly at the last moment. From Mahatma Gandhi, there's a little quote saying that a man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes. So does that fit what you're saying there? Then, so that's a quote that would sum up what you're trying to put across.
It does. It's not saying that just thinking that you're going to be better or you can overcome something will be enough to do it.
Yeah.
It's more that if you don't think you can, then you'll almost definitely be right. Okay. So if you think, for example, a life in abstinence from drink and drugs is going to be intolerable for you and impossible for you to achieve, you will make that true. Because what you're really telling yourself is, I don't have the strength, the emotional strength. I don't have the tenacity. I don't have the ability to kind of find a different way of living my life. And as soon as you tell yourself that, you make it true, which I think is what Gandhi was getting at. And obviously we have surnames that sound similar. So
you do, yeah, yeah. It's I think that's quite interesting about people going into recovery, because a lot of people go in, and I see this all the time. They're struggling and can't see a better way forward. They can't. It is all negativity at that point. They'll be putting up barriers, and they can't see, that new life. And it is very, very difficult at that point. I've got to say, it takes an awful lot of strength just to get to day one, where you're on that very slow process of getting into a mindset where you are growing and you are feeling positive, and you'll start seeing the benefits of it. I mean, it's that sort of, if you're looking at that, if you've got a fixed mindset, then so you're not growing effectively, and it's going to impact. You've said it already. It impacts upon your health, but I think also, to me, and this comes up quite a lot, it probably impacts upon the type of people that you attract into your life as well. If with us addicts, when we're in active addiction, we like to be around those people that are indulging in the same substance as we are, and to the same degree as we are as well. It sort of makes you feel, it justifies your own actions. But it does mean that, the more people that you have around you like that, it makes it more difficult to move away. You're breaking away from an awful lot of people. I've known people that have come into the groups that are, that have been homeless, and they feel great affinity with those people that are homeless, but those people on the streets that are still indulging in, heavily in drink and drugs. And it's this great difficulty in pulling away from that situation and getting into that mindset where they're going to grow, and they're going to grow independently from those people. So would you think that's true? So that we do generally drift towards those people that fit our purpose, don't we? Yeah, we do. And I think you're touching upon another important point there, is which is that if you do adopt a growth mindset, it does become incumbent upon you to grow. So, yes. If you stick around with the people that you always drank with, and you then fail in your recovery, then A, it's not surprising, but B, you didn't have to do any work, did you? We all know that any sort of recovery will take some sort of work. Yeah. So when it's kind of easier to have a fixed mindset. If you say to yourself, well, this is just the way it is, I'm an addict, I'm always going to be an addict, and I'm always going to drink, it's going to get me in the end, whatever, because that's what happens. Then, as tragic as that is, one could also say, in terms of emotional resilience, it is the easiest path, because you're kind of surrendering to it, aren't you? You are, and you always see. I thought about it myself. That I thought that if things do go wrong, I've always got those people to fall back on, because they won't judge me. They'd almost welcome me back into the warm embrace of the horrors of addiction, because they're going through it as well.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the questions that people often ask me, not necessarily in relation to addiction or even anxiety, but in relation to, I suppose, thinking about yourself differently, because that's quite often at the root of change. Is to feel like you're worth getting better. Certainly true of addicts, I think. You have to go through that process of feeling like you deserve to be sober, that you deserve to have a happy life without drink or drugs. And often over the years, people have said to me, "How do you do that? How do you make that change from thinking of yourself as not very valuable to thinking of yourself as worthy of putting that effort in?" And although it's not very useful, there isn't a simple answer to that. There's no sort of, well, this is the way you do it. You do this first, and then you think about this, and then you do that. And I was writing about this recently, and the only thing I could come up with was something in you must believe in that process. And I think that is a growth mindset, and I always kind of think about myself, my own kind of difficulties with depression when I think about that. And I don't really know when I was at my lowest what made me think I was going to get better, but obviously something did. I don't think I ever lost that belief that I would be okay and I would be able to get past it. I didn't know how. Didn't know how I was going to get there. Didn't know how long it was going to take me. But I can only assume that there was something in me that said, yeah, but you will get past this, because I think that's what keeps people going. And of course, you can't, there's nothing you can do to teach people that. It kind of goes back to a well used phrase in therapy, which is trust in the process.
I can understand that.
And it must be the same in recovery. You just got to trust in it.
Yeah, you have got to trust. And I think that trust comes with going back to that point about us drifting towards those people when we're in active addiction that are suffering the same as us. I think when you come into recovery, if you start hanging around with the people that are in recovery and are making progress, that starts to rub off. And you can see you don't have to trust the process from a personal point of view, because you can see it in action in other people. It will gradually, by osmosis, you get some of that positivity. You get some of that change mindset. And I think that it's, although it's a slow process, and we always encourage, people to regularly go to meetings, so they will continue to build upon, little small gains you get each time you go along, and you will see a small change. But I find you tend to find with people in addiction, the change is really quick early on. The change in the first few days can be magnificent. It really can, and then it plateaus out. But that change from being totally negative about everything and totally, I suppose, not wanting to go forward as well, being stuck, as we're talking about a fixed mindset, being stuck there and moving on. It's the change is just so significant initially. It really is, and it's a joy to watch. And I remember it myself. I know we talked about it in the past, this sort of purple cloud. You feel that everything suddenly is becoming right with the world, and then obviously it does start to settle down. That can't stay forever, but it is that change. And then it's I suppose for us addicts, it's not just getting to that point; it's then maintaining it. So maintaining a growth mindset over the long term is where the work, I suppose, is put in, but it's also, it is the encouragement of those around you in the peer support system or if people like to go down the 12-step route with the fellowships, that will help you to progress forward properly.
I think you're right. It is, there are two parts of it. You have to believe you can do it in the first place. That's what gets you into recovery. And then you have to believe you can sustain it. And actually that first step, I know we've spoken about it often, but I don't, we shouldn't underestimate the importance of that, because it's incredibly important. When people say to me, again, not really to do with addiction, although sometimes it is, they'll sort of point towards something in their family history. They'll say, oh, my mother was a drinker, or my father was a drinker, or I know I've got depression in the family because my uncle committed suicide or whatever. And they talk about it in such a way as they believe that means that they will definitely be saddled with it. And I always have a conversation with people around, well, how is it helping you to believe that? Because you can't point to anything that proves it. There's nothing you can point to that says, oh, it definitely means because this happened, I will definitely have that. And So I think helping people to kind of snap out of that idea that the die is cast in terms of recovery helps them first get over the initial hurdle, which is, well, perhaps this can be done. Perhaps life can be better without drink or drugs, which is a tough one. And then the second thing, as you say, is that's about the durability, the sustainability of that, isn't it? Because then what you need is a kind of consistent growth mindset, your ability to be able to say, even when things are getting tough and it feels like, no, this is too much for me, I don't think I can do this. You have to believe, it's back to believing in the process. I just got to keep walking in these, these same steps, this well-trodden path. And I have to believe, even if I can't see how it's going to happen, that eventually I might get out of the other end. And that, that's research suggests that is what makes people more emotionally resilient.
And so, I mean, people coming into therapy, I mean, that's going to be a bedrock, isn't it, of helping people, of starting off or changing their mindset to get to that point where they believe that things can change.
Yeah. So as soon as someone comes into therapy, assuming they haven't been sent by someone else, which is a whole different kettle of fish. But as soon as someone comes into therapy, that somewhere in there is some growth mindset, because why would you bother going to therapy if you didn't feel like it was going to help you?
Yeah, that's true. And that's something we always talk about as well. People coming into recovery, we know how many people in the world have addiction issues. And we know how many people of that, it's around about 10% effectively, people surveys show. And we know that it's only a small fraction of those people will actually take up the chance to go into recovery. So we always like to think of ourselves as quite a select bunch.
Yeah,
and I think it's again, you wrap that in positivity, and I think it's great to see other people move away from. It's an expression that we come across, and I'm sure you come across it a lot. It's just a very simple one: is "woe is me," and I think it is that movement away from that into something more positive about yourself that can start the situation to change, or the system to change, and B to maintain it.
Yeah, because woe is me is a statement of a victim.
Yeah.
And whenever you leave yourself in victim, you aren't going to change, because by definition, being in victim means that you are looking at someone else as a persecutor and a third person as a rescuer. So I think when people come into therapy or when they go into recovery, they start coming to peer support sessions. It's important to build on what is already there. And it is that there's something in them that believes that things can change for the better. And I always say to people, you've just got to make that voice louder. You can't hear it consistently at the moment. It's there, because if it wasn't there, you wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah.
It's just a question of, well, even if it's not making that voice louder, it's listening more carefully for it. It's there. There's something that's changed in your life that has meant, instead of going on this route, you've decided, well, I'm going to do something different. I want to change this. I want something to be better for me. Nobody can make a move into therapy or into recovery without there being a part of them that is keen on self-preservation, because otherwise you'd never do it. And that's a growth mindset, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah. I understand that. I understand this new terminology you've introduced at a very late stage, but I'm sort of getting
Not that you're sore about it or anything.
Well, I mean, everyone dislikes, right? Everyone dislikes. We all know negative people, don't we? They're a real bore, aren't they? And a real pain to be around. People that always see the glass half full scenario, and we all know people that are totally pessimistic the whole time. And the more time you spend with people like that, that's going to rub off on you as well, isn't it? It's going to make you feel like that, like they're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you reckon then, I know you've sort of touched on this, but apart from sort of becoming nearly dead with addiction problems and then going into recovery, how can we change our mindset? I mean, and to gain the advantages that it offers, and stop being one of those people that we talked about just a minute ago, being, we dislike being around. I mean, it's obviously therapy is going to help a long way. I mean, when I was looking at this under the guise of what I was initially researching, I was talking about sort of acknowledging it and analysing your thought and becoming aware of it, because a lot of people will be in this fixed mindset and not even aware of it, that it's become the norm. And I suppose it is analysing that and thinking about if you look back and think, yeah, I've been negative for a long time, and I know I was, for years, very negative about everything. But I didn't acknowledge it. It's only in retrospect that it seems to me to be something that had dogged me for an awful long time. But it's only with the power of recovery for me that's enabled me to look back.
Yeah, I think there's that. So it's like the first step to addressing a problem is acknowledging that you've got it.
Yeah.
I think that is the first thing. But then the second part, and I think this is pretty universal, whatever your mindset is in relation to, and that is once you've identified those fixed beliefs that you have or that particular way you have of looking at things, it's to challenge it, it's to question it. Just because you've always believed it, just because you always believed that, you could never be anything other than an addict, just because you always believed I was born anxious, my mum was anxious, my dad was anxious, I'm always going to have anxiety. Just because you believe those things doesn't make them true. And I think the danger for us is that we've thought things for so long, we've believed things for so long that we no longer consider the possibility that our beliefs are inaccurate. They're limiting and dysfunctional, surely. But when we start to consider, actually, I might be wrong about this. Let me look at the evidence. Let me talk about this to other people. Let me see if there are other views that might perhaps be contrary to the way that I see myself. That's probably the best way to do it, because then, you're giving yourself a chance to see the kind of possibility of change.
So it's very easy for us to talk negatively about ourselves. I certainly did in that situation. And it's quite tricky. I know certainly with us addicts, really tricky to have any positive self-talk. But that's surely would be a way to try and progress to alter your mindset, isn't it, towards the growth end of the scale?
Yeah, again, I think we've touched on this before, but sometimes I'll talk to people and I say, well, if I got you to write a list of positive things about yourself, how easy would that be? And a lot of people find that extremely difficult. But if you can get people to recognize, okay, well, if you can't think of anything positive about yourself, then there must be a part of you at least acknowledges that you're probably not seeing yourself clearly. So the question then becomes, okay, you might not be able to think of anything positive about yourself and you might be able to see lots and lots of negatives. But if you at least accept the possibility that you might not be seeing the good things, let's work on that.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get to a point where you start to think, actually, this is true of me. And I quite value that. We're not talking about suddenly changing the way that we perceive things. We're talking about considering that the way we look at them now might not be accurate.
Okay. I always remember, so I think it's my key worker said to me, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days in your recovery, but don't let a bad yesterday dictate a bad tomorrow. There's always a chance to put things better. So if people come in and have a bit of a relapse and they've had a bad time, doesn't mean that tomorrow's going to be the same. Pick yourself up, dust yourself down and crack on with it.
Yeah, absolutely right.
But again, my key worker did always used to say to me, which we've talked about before, is keeping your gratitude list close at hand. Just to remind yourself about the positive things you have in your life.
Was that a segue?
Did you see that?
Yeah, it was quite a good one. Actually, for you, that was probably one of your better ones.
It was quite soft, wasn't it, the way it was? It lacked the harsh jump from one thing to another. But for me, I think is finally completing after 5 months the project we're working on at work.
Excellent.
And we finished it within budget and within the time scale, despite the shitty weather we've had. That could have easily have disrupted it, and we've managed to put a few extra bits in on top of that. So I was pleased. It was the last. In fact, this morning I was at work, and it was pretty much just tidying up and making a weary way away from the site. So yeah, it was great.
Always a joy to finish something, or to complete something, and be able to stand back and look at it and say, "Yeah, that's a job well done."
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we're pleased with the outcome, and that's and so the recipient.
You won't be having a little celebration down the pub, obviously.
No, absolutely not. But we have been invited back to a little garden party on next Sunday. So
nice.
Yeah,
tea and cake.
Almost like a topping out, if you like. So yeah, a little bit of tea and cake. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Very good.
I think you take your own drink and your own food there, so it's I can dictate exactly what I drink and what I eat, so it's fine.
Yeah, excellent. Well, congratulations. You'll sleep well tonight.
I will. So I'm going to go on to yours then, because I'm choosing your gratitude. I wanted to choose number 2. You've got 17 on there, and I know we've ticked off several, but we haven't looked at yet number 2.
Oh, well, number 2 is pretty easy for me, this one. It's guitars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, guitars. If I think back over the years, I've had so many hours of joy from guitars, whether that be playing guitar on my own or buying guitars or playing guitars in shops or playing in bands. It would be a pretty incomplete gratitude list without having guitars. The other thing that gives me great joy and gratitude about them is there are always guitars that I haven't got that I'd like.
Okay.
That keeps a little bit of motivation in life. You know, they say, don't they, that a man's life is complete when he's got all the guitars he wants.
I've never heard that phrase. I'm sure that's something you just made up, but I can understand that. Yeah.
And I've recently put a couple on the walls, and it's nice just to look at them. I know it's going to sound a bit mad to some people, but
no, I think a lot of people hang theirs on their walls. I think they're bits of art on their own, mate. I appreciate them.
If there was a fire, assuming there were none of my family in the house and my dogs were out of the house, it would definitely be a guitar that I grab hold of. Sure.
Play yourself. You can play a little tune to the fireman, can't you? There,
I could play "London's Burning," couldn't I? Land is burning, land is burning.
What do you reckon? Because I was looking up positivity when I was doing my Spotify search, obviously, rather than fixed or. That's all right.
I think that's okay. I mean, as you know, I take a very lax attitude to all of these episodes. So I know that's the sort of thing that will upset you, but it doesn't upset me at all. In fact, as I've said to you before, I think it's good that you get used to that sort of terrible, chaotic, disorganized state.
Well, it's some sort of pseudo-therapy going on here, I'm sure, but I'm sure I will be the better person for it.
Exactly.
Okay, well, on positivity then, there's loads of different songs. There's one by Stevie Wonder. And there's one by Suede, both called Positivity. In fact, there's loads by Positivity of different bands, lots of them I hadn't heard of. And there was quite a good one called The Negative One by Slipknot, which would have been right up your street, that one, or Negative Creep by Nirvana. All great songs. But it won't surprise you to hear that I don't particularly like Nirvana or Slipknot. No.
I always Slipknot fall into a category of bands that I'm always fascinated to watch videos of.
Yeah, I think visually they're very exciting. I think,
music. I don't find them exciting. I find them sort of. I get the same. I don't know if anybody else. Well, I'm sure lots of people get this, but I have the same sort of feeling that I used to get when I watched. The Firestarter video, The Prodigy.
Yeah.
It's a bit frightening, and I quite like it. You know,
I do.
It's not terrifying, obviously, because it's a kind of music video, but there's something about it that draws me in, and it doesn't make me feel. I don't like it very much, but I like the fact that I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's something quite dark about that particular video you're talking about, and certainly watching Slipknot videos.
Exactly.
No, but yeah, there's almost satanic some of it. But yeah, I know I agree. The unease that goes with that is quite significant. But one of the joys of doing this Spotify search is always finding new bands. And there's a band I come across called The Death Set. Now, they sound probably harsher than they probably are, but they did one called Negative Thinking. And they're sort of an art punk band from Sydney in Australia. And I liked that track, and I listened to several other of their tracks, and I really like them. So I'm a bit of a new The Death Set fan. So I'm putting that Negative Thinking by The Death Set. It's going on the Spotify list for this week.
Have you got a Death Set T-shirt?
I haven't yet, but I'm sure I'll better find a little bit of merch somewhere online if I wanted one.
Why haven't we got any Sideways T-shirts?
I was thinking exactly the same. We ought to get some. But we
could have tour dates on the back.
Yeah. Just for weekly episodes on there. It would look good, wouldn't it?
When you were, that'd have to be a very, very long. It'd be more like a sort of night shirt, wouldn't it? Now we're 85 episodes now, haven't we?
Something like that. Yeah, you could get most of them on the shirt, and you'd have to buy the next one, which is a scarf accessory with some of the others on it.
or a bobble hat.
Or a bobble hat and a pair of trousers with them down the legs.
When you were younger and you went to rock concerts, as my dad would have said, how did you feel about T-shirts that didn't have tour dates on the back?
Oh no, I didn't like that particularly. Yeah. It felt like you always bought them to show off that you'd been to see them, didn't you?
Exactly.
So you'd buy the T-shirt and then you parade it off down the pub or with your mates later on. It had all the dates on the back, and on there would be the one you went to. You'd be proud, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So, favourite ever tour T-shirt?
I would probably say, that one of the earliest ones I had was Judas Priest, the Killing Machine tour, and I liked that one. It was just nice. Yeah, I've still got it. It's very plain, but with gold writing on the front, which is all sort of gone. You can just about see it now, and it's got holes in it. But yeah, it had the tour dates on the back.
I don't suppose it'd fit you now, would it?
No, I'd struggle getting one arm in it now, to be honest.
You'd look like a 1970s porn star in it.
Be up there in my midriff, and there'd be all holes in it. Yeah.
Okay, good. Excellent.
What about you? Have you got a favourite tour T-shirt? Then?
I have. I haven't still got it. It fell apart. But my favourite, funny enough, my favourite tour T-shirt was one that, because I'd never buy a T-shirt outside. I always wanted the official merch.
Yes.
But this one I bought outside of the Brixton Academy, which was a Wonder Stuff T-shirt.
All right, yeah.
And it had the dates on the back. It was grey and had long sleeves and had Idiot across the front. And I loved that shirt. I absolutely loved that shirt. And obviously I wore it so much that in the end it just fell apart. So, all right, good.
Okay, mate.
See you next time.
That'll do for me.
Yeah, laters.
Bye.
Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandy-wellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.